In the realm of relationships, how you present yourself as a couple and in public can significantly influence how others perceive you, how others respect your partnership. So when you are married or you are in a relationship, you're not just two separate entities coming together. It's about creating a new functional high-class dynamic together that creates a brand and creates the legacy that your family name will continue as. So if you want to know how to create this strong brand and this legacy as a couple, and you want this overwhelming sense of love and respect within your relationship and towards your relationship from others, then today's episode is for you. So stick around because it's all coming up right now. Hi, welcome back to The Vibration Fall. My name is Alia Zaray. I help women all over the world navigate their love life in a more feminine way. So if that sounds like something that you want to do, make sure to subscribe to stick around. A woman in her feminine energy and a man in his masculine energy that are in a relationship always have control over the external advances made towards them individually and perceptions made about them as a couple and individually. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you're at a wedding with your man, and there are many people here that both of you do not know. You, obviously, being your confident self, you want to mingle, you want to speak to people, you want to have a good time, and obviously he wants to do the same thing. Now, this is actually very healthy when you are maintaining your independence within your relationship, because after all, nobody wants to live in the shadow of their partner. However, to avoid these misinterpretations from others that you might speak to whilst you're at this event, it's important to enter this space as a couple together and do all of your first introductions together. Now, what this does is it signals that you have a strong partnership, and it creates this very strong identity and brand for you both. And then obviously mingling and having your own separate conversations is obviously necessary, like I said. So when you follow your partner around, subconsciously what happens is over time you start to miss that old outgoing version of yourself that you had when you were single, and you start to resent him for it. What happens overall is it weakens that bond in your relationship, and you start to feel suffocated, you start to feel frustrated, when really it's just because you haven't found out how to maintain your independence within this new partnership. So when you take this approach, you are preventing any unwanted advances that are being made towards you from other people, maybe presuming that you're single. They might mistake your conversation as you being flirty when in fact you're just existing and speaking as you normally would. So once you do this, there's no reason to alter how you would normally speak, because they're aware of your current situation. You're in a relationship, and 9 times out of 10 people will respect the dynamic of your relationship if you present it in the correct way. So making this type of statement together is very powerful. You're not letting conversations with people of the opposite gender linger on for too long. You're creating some distance and space between who you're speaking with. Now think about it as you radiating this high value energy. That access to you is a privilege, and it comes in small doses that only you get to regulate. So speaking too much with one person, even if it is just an innocent chat, doesn't fit well with a high value man or a high value woman. Neither does being too touchy and standing really close. It gives off this energy that you are easily accessible. I'm not talking about sexually, I'm talking about energetically. So be mindful and respectful about the image that you are wanting to perceive, and this goes the same to your partner too. The same rules are applicable here to both of you. The next thing that we have to touch on is understanding the essence of classy PDA. Now, public displays of affection are not all just about expressing love, but it's also about maintaining your dignity, especially for couples that are aspiring to embody this feminine energy or the masculine energy with respect and grace. So imagine your relationship as a beautifully tended garden where each flower blooms gracefully under the soft sunlight. Each flower exudes its natural beauty without overpowering others. In a high-value relationship, PDA should reflect a sense of beauty and restraint, avoiding extremes that might overshadow this allure of your partnership. So excessive PDAs such as deep kissing, clinginess, possessiveness can actually send unintended signals. So instead of showcasing love, it might appear as though you're trying too hard to mark your territory or seek validation from others. Now, this behavior risks diminishing the respect and admiration others might have for you within your relationship. So according to renowned psychologists like Esther Perel, maintaining a positive public image of your relationship is crucial. How you present yourself publicly can influence how you interact privately and impact the overall health of your relationship. So when relationship and PDA is tasteful and it's respectful, it enhances that mutual respect. It enhances that admiration. So what does tasteful PDA look like? So you can use gentle affection. So you can be holding hands, maybe a nice warm hug. You can share a brief kiss on the cheek or the lips. And if it is on the lips, you want to keep it tasteful. You don't want to be kissing using tongues and being really sloppy. You have to also assess your environment. Where are you? Is that necessary? Does that need to be done right here? Is it going to make other people uncomfortable? Is that how you want to be perceived? Because there is a time and place for this sort of affection. It's just about being able to read the room. Like I said, you don't want to make other people overwhelmed or uncomfortable around you. That's not good for your brand identity, because then people are not going to want to hang out with you as a couple because they're going to feel uncomfortable. You have to also take that friendship that you have with your partner and sometimes implement that into social settings so you're not too overly affectionate, kissing with tongues and being super sloppy. Behaving like this can also signal that you guys are actually a weak couple who feel the need to prove to other people that they are in love. They need to prove that they have great intimacy to others. Why do you need to do that? Why do you need to showcase that? If the love is strong and you both understand the connection you have, you shouldn't need to seek the approval of others. So just keep in mind that you want to be focusing on gestures that convey warmth. Yes, that's absolutely fine. So warmth and affection, but without overwhelming others. That's very important. The next thing you want to be cautious of is respecting personal space. So avoid sitting too close or clinging to your partner in a possessive way. You need to allow each other the space to move comfortably, respecting individual boundaries. So be mindful also of your surroundings. Like I mentioned in the first point, you need to consider the setting that you're in and the comfort level of those around you. So public places do require some decorum, ensuring that your expressions of love are appropriate for the context. That's what you need to be mindful of. Of course, I know that when you're in love, it can be hard to contain that level of love and the affection you want to give towards your partner, but that love can also be civilized, and that's what a woman in her divine energy understands how to embody. So she's respectful and mindful of the brand that she's creating with her partner. She's respectful and mindful about how she wants to be perceived with her partner. Doing this is going to benefit you both, and it's going to benefit you individually. You're going to feel proud that you can experience a different dynamic from public and private within your relationship, and that actually makes things in your relationship a lot more exciting and a lot more romantic. So the next thing we're covering is the language and conversation. Now, language and conversation you share in public when your partner isn't there is probably even more important than how you are speaking to them when they are there. So let me give you an example. Let's say you're in a loving relationship, but you've had this massive misunderstanding between each other. You're not happy with each other. You could both, obviously, individually go off to your friends, to your family, and explain the situation. You could seek their advice. You could ask for their perspective. But what happens is once you've shared a problem, you're also inviting opinions. So just be mindful that not every minor disagreement needs to become public knowledge, and that means your friends, that means your family especially, because what happens is it weakens your brand identity as a couple. So you and I both know that within 5 minutes you're going to make up with him. So was that conversation that you just had with your best girlfriend or that you just had with your mum worth it? All that time just talking badly about him, does that make you feel better? Is that worth it, or is it going to hinder your relationship? I think a lot of women just think and react with their emotions in that moment, but they're not thinking long term. They're not thinking, what is this going to do for the health of my relationship? What's this going to do for our brand identity? So keep all of your conversations between each other. Talk to a coach, talk to a therapist. If it's something that you desperately need to seek external advice on, talk to someone else who is not a part of your direct circle, someone who's not in a position to form an opinion, someone who's genuinely going to give the best, most solid advice that's going to enhance your relationship, not stunt the growth of your relationship. So remember, whatever you do, don't give your loved ones a free ticket to share their own opinions in a negative light on your relationship and on him, because that's going to drive a distance between you and your loved ones. It's going to cause unnecessary conflict in your relationship, especially if you decide to not take the advice that they give you. They're going to feel like you don't respect them, like you're not listening to them. Like, why did you even come to me and ask my advice anyway if you're not going to listen to it? That does cause a divide over time if you are consistently doing that. People will distance themselves from you, and that is not good for you. It's not good for your brand identity as a couple and in a relationship. Now, another thing to be mindful of is when you are around him, never, ever, 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 ever undermine him, especially in public, or tell him to others that he is weak. Don't make jokes about how he couldn't fix something in the house. Don't make jokes about how he's unable to do things. Don't make jokes about his failures. Don't make jokes about things that he is not going to be proud of. Now, to you, it may be a joke and it's not really that serious, and maybe you tell him, he needs to lighten up if he doesn't like it. It's just a joke and get over it. But what you're doing is you're emasculating him. He's never going to be able to show up as the man that you want him to be, the dream man of your desires, if you are constantly shaming him and putting him down. So what you need to focus on is you need to focus on celebrating him. You need to talk highly of him when you're out in public together, because what's going to happen is he's going to mirror that energy back to you. Just keep in mind that a man's most treasured asset to himself, his most treasured primary asset, is his strength. He wants a woman who's going to make him feel even more magical, even more stronger. That's what's going to keep the attraction alive. That's what's going to keep him wanting to do more and more for you. So when you undermine him in public or you question his strength, you will instantly become less desirable in his eyes, because he's going to feel embarrassed. He's going to feel underappreciated. So remember, you're always going to big him up. You're always going to celebrate his achievements in front of others. Now, I'm going to set you a task to do after this episode. So this is actually the most effective when it's done together with your partner, and it's to help build the brand as a couple. And it takes participation from you both to execute this and deliver this correctly to the world. So here are some questions that I want you both to ask yourselves to help shape your couple identity and the brand of your couple. So the first one is, what are your core values as a couple? Principles and beliefs that guide your relationship. How can you demonstrate these values through your actions and through your interactions? So the next one is, how do you want others to perceive you as a couple? So I want you to consider the image and the impression that you want to convey to your friends, to your family, to your colleagues, to anyone that you interact with. And basically just the broader community. It might be when you go on holiday, it might be like when you go to the wedding. So how can your behaviors and interactions reflect that perception? What are the standards for you both? How do you want to be perceived? The next question that I want you both to ask each other is, what does respect look like in your relationship? So we talk about respect, but it's a very generalized term. Now, you need to tailor this to what works for you both in your relationship. So explore how you and your partner define and demonstrate mutual respect. How can you uphold each other's dignity in public and private settings? So the next question is, how do you handle disagreements and conflicts publicly? Because listen, every relationship is going to have its conflicts and disagreements. Now, sometimes, yes, that can happen publicly, but how are you going to handle that? So I want you to discuss strategies for navigating disagreements, and these strategies are ones that are done in a more respectful and constructive manner. So how can you present a united front whilst addressing the differences of opinion? Now, a tip for this is to always be solution minded, be solution focused. Don't focus on what's happened, don't focus on the problem. Think, how are we going to resolve this so it can never ever happen again? That's the mindset. So that's a little tip, but obviously tailor this to you and your partner, because after all, every relationship is different, every dynamic is different. Next one is, what are your boundaries regarding public displays of affection? So what I want you to do is determine the level of PDA that aligns with your brand as a couple. How can you express affection tastefully whilst still maintaining your dignity and comfort for yourselves and to others? The next one is, how do you support each other's individual identities whilst presenting as a united couple? So this balance showcases your individual strengths, it's your individual interests, it's presenting this cohesive partnership. So how can you celebrate each other's achievements and talents in a way that actually enhances the brand that you have as a couple? So the next one is, what role does communication play in maintaining your couple brand and identity? Evaluate how you can communicate with each other and how you can communicate with others about your relationship. How can effective communication reinforce your shared values and strengthen your image as a couple? The next one's very important. It's, how do you handle external opinions and perceptions of your relationship? Because listen, there's always going to be this outside noise, this chaos from other people's opinions outside of your relationship. So what I want you to do is consider how you respond to external judgments and criticisms about your relationship. So how can you maintain confidence in your relationship whilst addressing misunderstandings or negative perceptions? How are you not going to let that negative perception influence your opinion of your relationship also? The next one is, what legacy do you want to leave as a couple? This is so important. This is your future. This is your brand. This is your name. If you're looking to create a family, this is so important to get done right now. So what I want you to do is, I want you to reflect on the impact that you want to make within your community as a couple. How can your actions and your behaviors contribute positively to your shared legacy? It's about the future, it's about the name, it's about the brand. What does that look like? And the last one is, how do you demonstrate appreciation and support for each other publicly? So what I want you to do is to discuss ways to publicly acknowledge and celebrate each other's contributions and achievements. How can you express gratitude and admiration in a manner that aligns with your couple brand? So that is a wrap for today's episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to hit the thumbs up and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. So until next time, mwah, I love you. Bye.